ever played a tabletop RPG that just felt off?
Yeah, like the story was dragging or...
Or your choices didn't really matter?
I know exactly what you mean.
Well, today we're diving deep into some common mistakes dungeon masters make.
That ruined the fun for everyone.
Exactly. We're looking at an article from LitRPG Reads.
Oh, cool.
It's called 9 Common Mistakes Dungeon Masters Make That Ruin the Fun for Players.
Catchy.
And it's written by Rich Hunterson.
Okay, I've heard of him.
It was published on March 3rd, 2025.
All right, so pretty recent.
Yeah, so let's jump right in. The first mistake they talk about is railroading.
Yeah, railroading. Classic DM blunder.
So for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's basically...
when the DM forces the players down a specific path.
Yeah, no matter what choices they make.
Exactly. It makes you feel like your decisions don't actually have any impact.
And that can be super frustrating as a player.
Totally kills the fun.
So LitRPG Reads suggests that DMs offer multiple quest lines
Interesting.
with different outcomes based on player choices.
It's like branching paths.
Yeah, exactly. Give them real choices that matter.
I like that. Makes the game feel more dynamic.
Right, because you never know what's going to happen.
Keeps you on your toes.
So it's all about embracing the unexpected.
As a DM.
Yeah, being able to react to player choices.
And weave them into the narrative.
Exactly.
The article actually gives a really cool example.
Oh, yeah.
About making NPC actions reactive to player decisions.
Ooh, that's interesting.
So instead of NPCs just following a script, their behavior is influenced by what the players do.
So the world feels more responsive.
Yeah, like it's actually reacting to your choices.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the next mistake.
Okay.
Poor pacing.
Pacing. Yeah, that can be a killer.
It can really make or break a game.
Absolutely. A game that drags on forever can be so boring.
Right. Too much exposition, too many unnecessary details.
It's like pulling teeth.
But on the other hand, if you rush through everything,
Then it feels shallow.
yeah, the players don't have time to really get invested.
Exactly. So how do you find that balance?
Well, LitRPG Reads emphasizes the importance of observing your players.
Okay.
You got to pay attention to their engagement level.
See if they're getting restless or bored.
Exactly. And if they are,
Gotta switch things up.
yeah, maybe introduce a twist or a time constraint.
Or even just a break.
Right. Sometimes people just need a minute to process.
Definitely.
They also suggest using time limits
For what?
for certain role-playing scenarios.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or breaking down long exposition into smaller chunks.
Okay, yeah. Bite-sized pieces.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
all about finding that sweet spot.
Between giving enough information and keeping the game moving.
Okay, so speaking of balance, the next point is about encounter difficulty.
Yes. Making sure encounters are challenging but not impossible.
Exactly, because overpowered enemies can be super frustrating.
Yeah, you just get destroyed and it feels unfair.
But if the enemies are too weak,
Then it's just boring.
yeah, there's no sense of accomplishment.
No challenge at all.
So LitRPG Reads suggests adjusting enemy tactics or hit points on the fly.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you can tailor the challenge based on how the players are performing.
Make it dynamic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keep them on their toes.
I like that. So each encounter feels unique.
They also suggest incorporating environmental challenges.
Like what?
Oh, like traps or difficult terrain,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
or even introducing multi-phase boss battles.
Oh, that's cool. Like the boss transforms or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It
Adds another layer of complexity.
makes it more strategic.
And speaking of strategy, let's talk about player backstories.
Yes. The heart and soul of a good character.
Players put so much effort into crafting their backstories.
Yeah, it's like their baby.
And it's such a bummer when those backstories are ignored.
Totally. It's like a whole chapter of their character's life is missing.
Exactly. So LitRPG Reads suggests incorporating elements from those backstories.
Into the main plot.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe an NPC from their past reappears,
Oh, that's a good one.
or a world event ties directly to their backstory.
So their personal story becomes part of the bigger narrative.
Yeah, it makes them feel like their character truly matters.
Or like they're not just a random adventurer.
Right. Their past experiences have shaped who they are today.
This actually leads nicely into the next mistake.
Oh, which is...
Taking away player agency.
Ugh. Yeah, that's the word.
It's like being told you have choices, but they don't actually matter.
You're just along for the ride.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel powerless.
So LitRPG Reads really emphasizes that DMs should embrace unexpected player solutions.
Even if they deviate from the plan?
Yeah, sometimes the best moments come from those unexpected turns.
Absolutely. Players can be so creative.
They come up with solutions you never even considered.
And that's what makes it fun.
Exactly.
Collaborative storytelling experience.
It's not just the DM dictating everything.
Right. The article even suggests allowing players to bypass combat altogether.
Really?
Yeah, through clever roleplay.
Oh, I like that. Rewards thinking outside the box.
Shows that actions have consequences.
And speaking of creating a positive gaming environment, the article cautions against what they call plain DM versus players.
Ooh, yeah, I've seen that happen.
It's when the DM starts treating the players like adversaries.
Instead of collaborators.
Yeah, the challenges become less about fun.
And more about punishing the players.
Right. And it creates this negative dynamic.
It just sucks the joy out of the game.
Exactly. So the article stresses the importance of celebrating player victories
Yeah.
and seeking collaborative enjoyment.
Not just focusing on DM satisfaction.
It's about creating an experience where everyone feels like they're contributing.
Like they're part of a team.
Okay, I think this is a good place to pause for now.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But there's still plenty more to discuss.
Absolutely. We'll pick up where we left off next time. Okay, so last time we were talking about creating a good atmosphere at the table.
Making sure everyone feels like they're part of the story.
Right, and that the DM isn't like the enemy or something.
Exactly. It's all about collaboration.
Now, there's another thing that Hunterson brings up in this article.
Okay, what's that?
It's about rules.
Rules.
Yeah, they can be a tricky thing.
Definitely. They're important for structure.
Right, you need rules to keep things fair.
But they can also bog things down if you're not careful.
Exactly. It's a balancing act.
You want a smooth game, but also a fair one.
So Hunterson suggests explaining the core rules clearly.
Before the game even starts.
Yeah, that way everyone's on the same page from the get-go.
And you can avoid those mid-game arguments.
Exactly. Nobody wants to stop the action to debate rules.
Plus, it just helps everyone feel more comfortable.
Like they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Especially new players.
Right. Hunterson also reminds us about the rule of cool.
Oh, yeah, I love that rule.
It's all about prioritizing those epic moments.
Over strict adherence to the rules.
Sometimes you gotta bend the rules a little.
To make the game more exciting.
Yeah, it's about creating memorable moments.
And sometimes that means fudging a die roll or two.
Yeah, as long as you don't abuse it.
Of course. But, you know, sometimes it's just more fun that way.
It's about finding that balance between rules and fun.
And tailoring your approach to the group.
Exactly. Some groups are more relaxed about rules than others,
New players might need more guidance.
while experienced players can handle more flexibility
So it's all about reading the room.
and creating an environment where everyone feels good.
Speaking of feeling good,
Yeah.
Hunterson talks about being mindful of table dynamics.
Ah, yes, that's super important.
A D&D campaign is a social experience.
It's not just about rolling dice
It's about interacting with people.
and making sure everyone feels safe and respected.
LitRPG Reads emphasizes the need to address any player discomfort.
Right away.
Yeah, don't let things fester.
If someone's not having a good time, you need to know about it.
Exactly. Whether it's related to the content
Or the dynamics between players.
anything else that might be causing them to feel uneasy.
Create clear channels for feedback.
Yeah, encourage players to speak up
Share their thoughts and feelings.
because that open communication builds trust and helps ensure that everyone is having a positive experience.
Hunterson also gives some practical tips for managing group dynamics.
Oh, like what?
Well, for example, he suggests implementing a system,
Where each player has a dedicated turn to speak.
especially during group discussions.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It helps ensure that quieter players.
Don't get talked over.
Exactly. Everyone gets a chance to share their thoughts.
And that creates a more inclusive environment.
So everyone feels heard and valued.
Okay, so moving on to the last mistake that Hunterson covers.
Okay, what's that?
It's not allowing the game to evolve organically.
Oh, yeah. I've been guilty of that one myself.
It's so tempting to cling to our meticulously planned storylines.
Right. You spent all this time prepping.
And then the players go off in a completely different
And
direction.
they're like, wait, but I had this whole thing planned out.
But sometimes you just gotta let go.
Embrace the unexpected.
Hunterson encourages DMs to be flexible,
And adaptable.
willing to incorporate player goals and decisions into the narrative.
Because that's what makes it a collaborative story.
Everyone contributes to the shape of the
And
story.
it keeps things fresh and exciting.
He even suggests dedicating entire sessions to brainstorming.
Really?
Yeah, like mapping out potential narrative paths with the players.
Wow, that's actually a really cool idea.
It helps everyone feel invested in the direction of the story
And you might discover twists and
that
turns.
you never would have thought of on your own.
So it's a win-win.
Okay, so beyond these 9 core mistakes,
Yeah.
the LitRPG Reads article also highlight some really helpful resources.
Oh, cool. Like what?
They specifically mention their fantasy RPG random tables books.
I've heard of those.
They're packed with all sorts of encounters and NPCs.
And plot hooks.
Yeah, basically everything you need to spice up your campaigns.
Ooh, that sounds like a lifesaver.
Especially when you're feeling stuck.
Or just need a little inspiration.
And they're available in both ebook and print formats.
Nice. So you can choose whichever you prefer.
Speaking of resources, the article itself is a goldmine.
Yeah, it's full of practical advice.
And insightful tips.
For DMs of all skill levels.
Hunterson clearly knows his stuff.
He's a great writer, too.
Yeah, he makes complex concepts easy to understand.
And he's clearly passionate about D&D.
You can tell he loves the game.
And that enthusiasm is contagious.
It makes you want to go home and start planning your next campaign.
Before we get too carried away, though, there's one last piece of advice that I think is really important.
Okay, what's that?
It's about seeking feedback from your players.
Oh yeah, that's crucial.
Sometimes we get so caught up in our own ideas as DMs.
That we forget to check in with the people who are actually playing the game.
Exactly. We need to make sure they're enjoying themselves.
Players might be hesitant to speak up.
Especially if they're new to the game.
Or if they're worried about hurting our feelings.
So we need to create a safe space for them to share their thoughts.
Encourage them to give us honest feedback.
Because ultimately, we're all in this together.
It's a collaborative effort.
And their feedback can help us make the game better.
For everyone.
Exactly. It's about communication and collaboration.
And constantly striving to improve.
So yeah, don't be afraid to ask your players
what they're enjoying,
what they'd like to see more of,
and what they'd like to change.
You might be surprised by what they have to say.
And their insights can be invaluable.
So remember, D&D is a team effort.
We're all in this together.
And the best stories are the ones we create together.
It's all about creating something special together.
Yeah, something that everyone can enjoy.
And remember, DMing is a skill.
It takes practice.
You're not going to be perfect right away.
Nobody is.
So don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Learn from them.
And most importantly, have fun.
Yeah, don't take it too seriously.
If you're getting stressed out,
take a step back.
Remind yourself why you started playing D&D.
It's a game after all.
It's about having fun with friends.
Telling stories together.
So embrace the chaos.
Let the story unfold organically.
And never lose sight of that joy.
The joy of playing pretend.
You know, just letting your imagination run wild.
And who knows, maybe you'll even inspire your players.
To become DMs themselves.
Pass on the torch.
Keep the tradition alive.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything.
Yeah, this has been a great deep dive.
Really insightful.
A big thanks to LitRPG Reads.
And to Paul Bello.
For sharing their wisdom with us.
It's been a pleasure discussing these DM mistakes.
And learning how to avoid them.
To all our listeners out there.
Keep those dice rolling.
And may your campaigns be filled with epic adventures.
Until next time.